What's up, Horror fans? This is Horror Night Podcast. I'm your host, Austin. My co-host is Patrick.
What's up, everybody?
We got a big show. We got Bill Oberst Jr. on the show. I think I pronounced it right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I'm glad to be here.
We got so much to talk about. Let's get right to it. Horror news. Demons and Demons 2 getting a 4K Ultra HD and remastered Blu-ray release on October 19th. I don't even know what that movie is, but I'll check it out. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, available on 4K, Blu-ray, DVD, and on DVD on August 24th. The Addams Family 2 will be released in theaters October 1st. Lovecraft Country will not return to HBO for a second season. Everybody who watches that won't return. I don't know why, it just does. Anyway, Scream Factory bringing the first 5 Halloween movies to 4K Ultra HD. All 5 movies will be released on the format on September 28th. So go check that out. Question number 1. Bill, what is your favorite horror movie?
My favorite horror movie? Well, it's an unimaginative choice, but it has to be The Exorcist, the original, because it pits strong good against strong evil, and they're both equally strong. And at the end, you don't know which one won. And to me, that's the essence of horror. You can't have horror if you have only evil. There's no point. It's the struggle between good and evil, which is a stand-in for the struggle between our lives and our impending, inevitable deaths. That's what makes for good horror. So for those reasons, I stand by The Exorcist.
Everybody picks that. My favorite is Zombie Strippers. Best movie ever. Number 2, how is it like being in the horror community?
How do I like being a part of the horror community?
Yes.
It's a real honor, Austin. I was a strange kid. I was a misfit, and I didn't fit in anywhere. And horror really saved my life. I mean, we didn't have the internet then, but we had magazines and fan letters and some sense of a community. And I loved monsters. I've always loved monsters. I guess I always felt like one. So because of that, when I grew up, and I did stage for 14 years, and then when I started doing film 12 years ago, I started getting cast in horror films, and the horror kid in me really liked it. So I'm honored, and particularly the horror kid that still lives in me, the 14-year-old horror boy, is very excited. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to, when I get to be a part of another horror movie. I just love the genre.
Is there a character that you would love to play, a horror character that you would love to play, like the Wolfman or something unusual?
Yeah, Patrick, there is. Thanks for asking. Eric in The Phantom of the Opera is the answer. But let me explain just a minute on that, if I may. The essence of Eric is that he was born the way he was born. Nobody threw acid in his face as they did in most of the movies. Nobody did this to him. He was born this way. And the only movie that ever tried to portray that was the Chaney version in 1925. But they had to change the audience then would not accept a sympathetic monster. So the point of it was that the world really made him what he was. So I always tell young directors, Phantom of the Opera is in the public domain. You can change it. It doesn't have to be set in an opera. In fact, it would be better if it wasn't. Just take the essence of that story and put it wherever you want and cast me as Eric. That's what I tell them. Nobody's done it so far, but I'll keep saying it.
That's really cool. Question number 3. How is it like working with Rob Zombie in movie 3 from Hell?
Rob Zombie was great. He's a very, very strong director. You can tell a strong director because everybody in the set fears them a little and respects them a lot. Jamie Lee Curtis directed an episode of Scream Queens that I was in, and it was just the same way. Everybody feared her a little and loved her a lot. And Rob Zombie's the same way. I have just a hell of a lot of respect for him as a person, as a director, and as a performer.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that, once you're in Rob Zombie's movies, you're part of the family. So I was just curious, has he called upon you to come and be part of the Moo Monsters set?
He has called upon me, but I can't discuss what he's called upon me for, because then he'd never call upon me again.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so
we'll be waiting. We'll be waiting for some kind of cameo or maybe a part in the movie, right? No comment.
He has several projects that he's working on. Besides that, so yeah.
So going back to my question was my thing I was about to say. I asked the same question to Clint Howard last season on Whole Night Podcast, and he said the same exact thing. Rob Zombie is a great guy and a great actor. I mean, and producer and director or whatever.
Well, you know what makes I guess people say that about Rob is that he understands his persona. And I mean, so here's the thing: your public persona. I have one. Every public person has one. It can't be a lie. It can't be something that has nothing to do with you. It has what you're doing is with a public persona is you are like emphasizing. I guess the same thing you do on a date, right? You're emphasizing the best parts of your character for the audience that you're with. And so Rob does that with his horror persona. That's not all of him. It's not all of who he is, but he really, really understands that persona. He knows what people like from him and what they expect from him, and he knows how to give it to them and to still at the same time be like a fully rounded person. And that's something that's really hard in this business, is to understand you're not your persona. In other words, don't believe your own bullshit. But still have respect for your own bullshit, if that makes any difference.
Yeah, it does. Moving on to question number 4. How was it like being on the TV show The Age of the Living Dead?
I love that series. It's British. We've shot season 2, and I hope it'll be debuting, I think, around Halloween. British productions always have a way of making things look like they cost more money than they did. They're very good at making production values high. And they increased my role in the second season. So I'm pretty excited about it. Looking forward to it. I love being in that series.
I've never heard of it until I looked it up before this podcast, and it looks good. I can't wait to watch it.
Good.
Question number 5. Any future projects that you're working on?
Yes, I am getting ready to go to Mexico and shoot a movie with a young director I respect a lot. His name is Adrian Corona, and he did a movie called Dis, which is a underground cult extreme horror movie that I was in. And it got a lot of good reviews from people who like that sort of thing, and he's very artistic. His films are sort of a mix between art house and horror, which I'm very into, rather than your standard, commercial horror. And so this movie is called Dead Iris, and it's about the Mexican sweat lodge culture and the belief that in the sweat lodge, using certain rituals, you can contact the dead. And so it's about this kid who comes to Mexico, and he meets this shaman, who's me, and he wants to go into the sweat lodge and undergo this ritual to contact his dead girlfriend. And he does, but it turns out not to be good at all. If it were good, it wouldn't be a horror movie, right?
Yeah, I love Latino directors and producers. Like, Danny Trejo is one Latino actor, and I always admired his crafting art and artistism on movies. And one thing I say before I take it to Patrick, Viva la raza, everybody!
Alright. It was going through Funny or Die the other day, and I happened to check out this skit with Jim Carrey, and guess who I saw right next to Jim Carrey? It was you.
Oh, yeah. I
So
forgot
I was
about
wondering
that.
how you got involved with that, and what's Jim Carrey like?
Oh, I had done a movie before with the person who was in charge of that project had directed an asylum movie that I was in. You never know what's going to happen when you do an asylum movie. And she called me the night before, and so we got this thing with Jim Carrey, and we want you to come and do this hee-haw type character and have a big wig and be like, Porter Wagner thing. And I got there, and they didn't have the wig, but we did it anyway. And working with Jim is, again, I say this about every high-level person I've ever worked with. They're great. My experience is the higher up you go, as far as, people being well-known and having a great body of work behind them, the higher up you go, the nicer people are, and the lower down you go, the more people can be a bitch. But Jim was so nice. In fact, we had to do this thing where he had a gun, and I pulled the gun, and I was supposed to pull him towards me with the gun. And he said, just, go for it, just yank it. And I said, well, I'm afraid I'll pull you down. Because in horror, when you do things, you really do them. So I'm used to really. So anyway, he said, just go for it. So I went for it, and he fell flat on his ass on the dolly tracks.
Oh, wow.
And so everybody, the whole room, everything stops, and I hear this. And so Jim Carrey gets up, and he looked at me and kind of winked. And he said, that's okay, my bad. So there, he saved my ass. That's what nice people do.
Oh, yeah.
He was great to work with. And again, somebody who understands their persona. He sat with us at lunch, and we talked to him. He's a very quiet, thoughtful guy, but he understands what his persona is and what people expect of him.
I wanted to also backtrack. You said your favorite movie was The Exorcist. Yeah. Was Father Merrin influence in researching or when you were portraying Father Felix in the Parish?
That's a good question. The answer is yes. And I was only able to partially, of course, do Father Merrin, but Father Merrin's a big influence on me for a lot of my roles. I think of that portrayal often. There was sort of like this quiet power there. And then I often think of the way Father Merrin was portrayed in the book as somebody who had this heaviness about him because he had experienced darkness and he knew it was real. All of that stays with me. Yeah, it's very astute of you. I really dig Father Merrin, and I think of that character often.
Yeah. Well, I was there at the premiere, and I saw the movie. It was excellent. And I was thinking, I watched it again the other day, and I was like, I wonder maybe if they haven't asked you yet, if not a sequel, maybe a spin-off of just Father Felix, like continuing the story of Father Felix and maybe with some more exorcisms.
I would really like that. And something darker. Something darker. I'm all about the darkness, not for the sake of darkness, but because, to my mind, look, independent movies generally don't have a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So you can't copy what the big guys do because your copy is going to be crap. So you have to do something that's different.
Yeah.
Something, and oftentimes, if you can do something that's authentically dark, that's really going to stand out. Because big budget things, a lot of times, they're afraid to go really dark, right, Patrick?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because they think, this is for a mass audience. But with independent horror, you have the opportunity to go really dark, and there's a huge audience that wants to see on film the realization that there's a lot of darkness in the human spirit. And to portray that authentically is something that independent horror can do. So, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'm sorry, man, I don't mean to be so earnest when I talk about horror, but I really believe in the genre. And so many times I don't see its potential being fully used.
I think, too, with independence, there's a lot more freedom for horror versus Hollywood, because Hollywood has all the budget. With independent, you can have a story and you can just work around it.
You can, if you have the guts to do it.
Yeah.
If you have the guts to do it, you've got to say, screw commercialism. I'm not making a movie for the mass market, and I don't give a damn if anybody likes it but me.
Yeah.
Because this is my art and my work. If you do that, my experience is if you can do that, you'll have a success. But if you try to make a movie for the mass market, you usually fail.
Yeah. One more question. You have a ton of movies under your belt. Which would you say was your favorite of all the movies you've made so far?
Favorite in which way? It's like your favorite child.
Yeah, it's true. Well, you've got a lot of children. So I was just curious, which one do you think is like, yeah, this is my best work?
Well,
Or is it yet to come?
no. Well, I don't know. I mean, I hope I can continue to do better. But I'll tell you one that's not horror. That way I won't get in trouble for picking a horror. That I really have a lot of respect for the director. It's a film called The Retrieval. It's not horror, but it's dark. It's set in the dying days of the Civil War. And it's a coming-of-age movie, and I play a slave bounty hunter. And I'm proud of the work in that, and I'm proud of the movie. I saw it with audiences about 10 times during festivals. And every time there was applause and people cried. It's a movie that really means something. So when you can be a part of that, that's special. Plus, the director really rode my ass. It was a hard movie to make because he wasn't letting me slide on anything. And a lot of times that challenge makes the performance good.
Wow.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, me too.
I have to catch up because I know there's so many movies. Especially The Chair. I know that a lot of people have met a lot of people from The Chair, but then I saw the trailer. It's like, oh, you're in it too. Oh my god, I gotta definitely see this.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, I gotta give a shout out to Holly Night. This episode is brought to you by Tidewater Holocon convention, September 10th through the 12th. Tickets on sale now. Go check on the website for more information. I'm gonna be there, hopefully, if COVID lets me. And we'll see what happens then. Thanks for being on the show, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right.